hello folks. I'm going to give these live videos just a couple seconds to queue up because sometimes they are delayed. And good enough. Okay. All right. Hi. Welcome, guys. Welcome back. Welcome to the Dinosaur Omelet. I'm Christopher.
And I'm Angela.
And that's who we are with Dinosaur Omelet. Welcome here. Hey, guys, listen up. We have a whole bunch of new subscribers over on our YouTube channel. I want to thank you if you're subbed in here, if you're new. Really do appreciate you coming in here. A little bit about us, especially if you're new. We're a small homestead in southern Lancaster County. We raise quail. Angela has her lovely silky chickens. We raise muscovy ducks, rabbits, all kinds of fun stuff. And one of our major focuses, which we hope to bring to you guys, is information, education. We do these educational videos usually every week. Try to get them out every week unless there's a holiday or something. Because one of the things we really try to do here is provide useful information and start to build a community so you guys have a place to come to for a resource. And yeah, we've been doing that for a couple of years now, right?
Yeah.
All right, yeah, so that's us. Again, small homestead. If you guys are homesteaders, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that before we get started, that's really awesome because the whole focus with this niche community is self-sufficiency and growth. And, oh, we have a visitor. It's Miss Susan.
Hi, Susan.
Hi, hon. Hi, thanks for stopping in. Yeah.
Did you want to make that bigger so that when comments come up, you can see them?
Oh, yeah. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions or comments, stuck them in below. If you're new and if you want to follow, feel free to hit the like and subscribe button. Again, we come out every week with, I like to do these live videos. Hopefully it's more interactive. We get questions because I like to answer questions, and I like the format, kind of like a class teaching one-on-one or one-on whoever's there, 10, 20, a million. Doesn't really matter. So we can really interact with you guys. Tonight's subject is probiotics, prebiotics, postbiotics, the gut microbiome. You guys might be a little bit familiar with that. It's crucially important not only to human health, but to the health of our beloved yard chickens. And I have some goals. This is what Angela was wondering what my sheet earlier was. I take notes, and I really love this science. I've been studying it a long time. It's really fascinating. So I do like to talk about it. Ooh, I love giving this disclaimer. I ain't a doctor. I am not a vet. Nor am I giving you the advice of a doctor or a vet. This is just fun chat, right? So don't sue me.
Yeah. Trying to pique your curiosity and interest so that maybe you'll continue your research and keep looking into stuff.
Absolutely. I highly encourage you to invest some time into investigating this issue. Actually, what you're doing now. Because we're going to be talking about that. So hopefully by the end of this talk, if you're new to this stuff, we'll understand what the gut microbiome is. It's exceptionally complex, but simple to understand. Identifying probiotics and what their benefits are. Differentiating between probiotics, prebiotics, and postbiotics. How to implement fermented feed if you want to feed that to your chickens because it is filled with beneficial probiotics. Mm-hmm. And recognize the impact of gut health on our overall health and well-being, or for our chickens' overall health and well-being.
And of course, this isn't just chickens, it's ducks and quail and whatever poultry this applies to.
All kinds of birds. Yeah, a common question we get, because to raise quail, is can I feed fermented feed to my quail? Well, sure you can. Mm-hmm. I guess quail, before I go into this whole dive with this class, so quail, if you guys are raising quail, you're probably doing them in, if you're doing it as a food program, you're raising them in larger numbers. And it might not be, depending on how your feed setup is, as practical to give fermented quail food. You can do it that.
Or something that might make it easier would be to feed whatever you're feeding. Because with the jumbo quail, you want to have constant food supply. You don't want them to run out. So you could also give them, an additive with your dry food or whatever feed you're feeding. You could give them an option as well to eat a certain portion of fermented feed. They'll definitely eat it because it's really yummy. They like it a lot, and it's definitely good for them. But if you want to make sure they're eating all of it and not leaving any of it sit, and yeah, just to make sure they're continually eating.
Continually eating.
Good to just give a little bit of it.
Yeah. All right, guys. So I'm going to dive into this backwards, kind of, sort of. I was going to end with gut microbiome, but I'm going to start with that first. So we have a ground understanding.
That seems like a good way to do it.
So a gut microbiome or a gut ecology, right? We have that, and our gut is our intestinal tract, colon, all that fun stuff. And down there inside of us and in our chickens are trillions of bacteria. There's virus, there's fungus, there's protozoa. Now all these organisms living down there, the beneficial ones anyway, are they're probiotic. And if you have a healthy gut microbiome, you're feeding it properly, you're not stressed, you're not introducing toxins, this gut microbiome thrives. Now, I understand that the science behind this, it's kind of taken on that goji berry popularity. People think it's a one fix. Oh, that's
like eat
like a buzzword. Like, oh, I heard about the gut microbiome. That's the new magic thing that's going to cure all. No. I'm not into that. I'm into
it's about balance.
Yeah, total wellness, total health for yourself and for your critters. And this is but one component, but a very critical component that people, if they're not educated, tend to neglect or don't realize that their diet is adversely affecting their gut health, which is adversely affecting their overall well-being, including their mental health. Facts and truth.
Yeah.
So a healthy gut microbiome is quite crucial. And much of what I'll be talking about, we're going to be discussing here, isn't just true for chickens, it's true for us. Because fundamentally, our digestive systems are performing, the same kind of function. Digesting the food and having a metabolic process take place.
And just like a really brief summary of that, with what he just said, with how the microbiome in the gut, it affects your whole well-being. It affects, he mentioned your mental capacity. It affects your mood. It affects your immune system, how your body's processing things. Also, weight gain, weight loss. Just overall how the body's functioning, and in whether it's in a productive, balanced, more high functioning way, or the opposite.
All right, Kelly stopped in. What's up, hon?
So yeah.
Yeah, so speaking of chickens, yes, they have an active gut microbiome. What's interesting is the bacteria, again, these are beneficial bacteria. We co-evolve with them. There's a symbiotic relationship. We give a house.
Space to move.
We give a house to these little organisms, and we feed the little organisms when we eat. And the little organisms, they produce a wonderful array and abundance of metabolic byproducts that convey a health benefit to us, which we'll discuss later. And that's also for the chickens. It is the same thing. What's interesting about chickens, so when we're going to talk about the gut health of the chicken does something that the American does not do, and the chicken eats if they're free-ranging anyway, right? They're eating a varied diet, and they're being exposed to the environment. They're being exposed to the natural environment and natural bacteria that are in the environment. They're ingesting them, and they're becoming part of their gut microbiome. A healthy animal, a healthy human, a healthy chicken, when they have a robust gut microbiome and they have healthy bacteria in there, they become competitors, okay? The healthy bacteria produce byproducts, and they themselves outcompete potential pathogens that would instigate an infection. So that healthy gut microbiome creates, immunity, and as well outcompeting for resources for the bad guy bacteria that may try to infiltrate.
Yeah.
So that's another reason it's crucial to keep this a healthy environment. A couple weeks ago, we did a talk about whole food diet. It's connected to homesteading because we're all trying to live better, and a lot of what we're doing here is health related.
Right.
So a whole foods diet that we were talking about, it's what the chickens are eating. They're going out and they're pecking, they're eating live organisms they find on the ground, they're eating greens, whatever their seeds they're scavenging for, and they're exposed again to environmental bacteria. These things they're eating are, many of them are what called prebiotic. Okay, what is a prebiotic? To keep it simple, I don't want to get very, very technical, but prebiotic is what the probiotics are going to consume. You're feeding them a prebiotics, inulin, oligosaccharides, fructosaccharides. If you don't know what that is, let's just say fiber. Okay, you're feeding them the undigestible product in the plants. So they're eating these fibers, and that's feeding the probiotics. And what do they do in return? Huh? What are they making? All kinds of fun stuff. The metabolic byproducts that we're talking about. Vitamins, they actually will create vitamins from their enzymes, peptides, short-chain fatty acids, and these are all conveying health to the gut of your chicken or to you as a human being. All right, so we're talking about, let me get back on track. You can jump in at any time because I knew this was Mr. Science talk tonight. So again, probiotics are the beneficial bacteria, fungus, virus, and protozoa that are found naturally in your gut. You can supplement them and confer a health benefit by ingesting them. You know, eating yogurt, sauerkraut, everybody's heard of these wonderful things. And you look on the store, it has a label on the little package, probiotics. People don't really understand what's going on, but it's a marketing gimmick, I think, a lot of times. And probiotics, if they're kept at room temperature, tend to drop dead, and they're not going to be viable anyway. So you want.
Right. So were you going to mention about how when you're looking at the packaging, are they live? Right? Are they living?
Live?
If you're looking for that probiotic to be beneficial to the best it can be through what you're eating, like in a yogurt, it will say that they're live, what cultures or something.
Yeah. So what does it have to do with chickens? Chickens are going to eat. We feed them a fermented feed. So the fermented feed is going to be introducing beneficial bacteria, the probiotics, the lactobacillus, there's acidophilus, plantarum. There's a whole bunch of different strains of bacteria. And I'm going to talk about a fermenting feed in a moment. But I just wanted to touch on that a bit. If you guys have any questions, again, drop them in. Be happy to answer you, even if it's not related to this. All right, lastly with probiotics, and I'm going to go back into this. I just want you guys to get the idea in your head that there's an entire universe or environment inside of us. Just wanted to stop in and say hello. Is Aaron? Hey, Aaron. What's going on, man? So inside of the chicken is an entire environment that's thriving if it's healthy, okay? And when it's not healthy, when these organisms start dying off, when pathogens start coming in, then they start getting sick, stress. Everybody.
Or even if, did you mention antibiotics?
Right, good point.
Like using antibiotics.
What is
kill them.
Antibiotic? What is that? Antibiotic. It's anti the living thing, and it's killing off them.
So I guess that the goal is to kill the bad type of things, but in effect it kills everything.
Well, yeah, I mean the broad spectrum stuff especially, but yeah, like when you're eating antibiotics, a lot of us get that, I don't feel good, stomach sickness. That's the adjustment of the bacteria, and they're croaking out, and it takes some time to regenerate them. Yes, they'll come back, but you dropped a nuke in your gut, technically, for these little bugs. Same with the chicken. So when you're introducing a bunch of antibiotics to chickens all the time, their biotics are going to die, the good ones and the bad ones. So the probiotics live inside of the organism, live inside your chicken. You feed the chicken healthy, or they're free-ranging, and they're eating healthy, and they thrive, and they keep the chicken better immunity, keep them healthy, and they're more capable to absorb nutrients as well, by the way, when you have this healthy environment. Mm-hmm. Am I talking too fast?
No,
Am I talking too fast?
Fine.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm used to you, so.
And again, most of this stuff we're talking about applies to people, because I'm discussing this in a general way, and it's fundamentally very much the same thing for the chicken or the human. Of course, we're different animals, but fundamentally, again, it's very similar. So do look into this on your own at some point. You'll be really fascinated if you haven't learned about this. It really is fascinating. So, any further information about the probiotic relationship with the gut microbiome before I move on that I need to cover? It's important. Oh, yes, actually. Free range versus feeding.
Feeding like the probiotic food?
Right. So, think of a chicken. What do you guys think? What chickens do you think do not have the healthiest gut health? Concentration camp chickens. The chickens that are living 15 million smashed together. Why is this? Why are they not? Because they're not eating a diverse diet. They're not eating a diverse diet. They're eating corn or whatever they're eating, the same thing to get them fat and real quick. They're not really concerned about the gut health or whatever. I'm not going to chastise Big Agra on that, whatever. They do their thing. Everybody pretty much knows. You guys, if you're in this homestead thing, you're self-teaching and you already know this. But whatever their objective is their objective. Our objective is to have healthy animals, happy animals, and healthy food produced from these happy, healthy animals, their eggs and their meat. So we're going to feed them accordingly. Now, the difference between those factory chickens and your free-range chicken is the free-range chicken is eating a very varied diet. Right? They're scrounging around. Your ducks do this all day. They're going around and, what do they call it? Scratching, pecking?
Well, chickens.
Yeah, what do they call it when the chickens...
Yeah, scratch and peck.
Scratch and peck, foraging.
Free range.
Free ranging. My brain's out of it. So because they're eating this variety of stuff, very happy to be in attendance. Oh, Steve, hey man.
Hey.
We're talking chicken gut science stuff, but I'm not making it too scientific. Yeah, so when the chicken's free ranging, and again, think about the human, all right? The human's the same thing. When humans used to free range, back in the good old days, and when I say good old days, I mean when we were killing woolly mammoths and living in caves. Back in the good old days...
I don't know why that's the good old days.
Well, I would have loved it back then. We were eating everything, right? Putting it in our mouth. We drink out of this stream. So we had all kinds of bugs living inside of us. And we were adapted to these bugs. We wouldn't get sick and throw up after drinking out of a dirty stream because we had an adapted ecosystem in our gut. But we also had many, many different species of organism living in us at that time because we were so exposed to the environment. I don't want to talk too much on this. It's kind of a controversial issue, and I don't want to get too into it. But
I apologize for my yawning. I'm just I'm just tired from today. It has nothing to do with this very interesting and educational teaching because I actually value this teaching very much.
Am I right? You know, I got to talk like that British man. What's his name? The gut microbiome.
Yeah,
a thriving and wonderful environment that means life for all. So speaking of bugs in our bodies, what's your thought on parasitic cleanses? Random thought. Oh, you know what, Susan? Because we're talking online, I'm going to do my favorite drop-down answer is speak to your doctor if you have any concerns about any infection or a parasitic thing. But I would actually do that. I'm not familiar with parasitic cleanses other than the horse paste, which is very effective. But I'm not telling you to take the horse paste. I'm just saying in its application, yes, I mean, parasites. We do have parasites that live with us anyway. They just kind of hang out, the protozoa. They're non-pathogenic. They're not causing damage.
Yeah, but if there are harmful parasites present, we would definitely recommend looking into taking care of that.
Talk to your docs, obviously. You want to have them do a full inspection, see what's going on. Yes, I know this much piece. So yeah, that very diet promoted a really, really robust gut microbiome. So Americans today, the Western diet, the research that I came across suggests, and it was qualified research, I should put it in the notes here, I can go get it later. American has a couple hundred, give or take, species of organism in their gut, where indigenous hunter-gatherer people over on the other side of the earth have 600, 700, 800, 1,000 different, much more varied because they have much more exposure to organisms in the environment. And that was the controversial thing I was going to say. It's okay to get dirty. It's okay to, expose yourself to a degree. Like naturally, we do expose ourselves. And not to be over, what do they call this stuff they put on their hands? They don't touch anything. antibiotic hand goop.
The clear stuff.
Yeah, whatever. People are using way too many hand cleansers. Sanitizer.
Did you want to just say a comment, just a simple clarification to differentiate parasites from like these probiotic kind of things, because these are really good for us and for animals, and for anyone who might not know that that's not the same thing.
Well, sure, like these probiotics, they are, again, there's a symbiotic relationship. They convey a benefit. You give them a little house and you're feeding them. A parasite, he's like the freeloading cousin. He just shows up and eats stuff and leaves a mess.
Drains.
And doesn't do anything
Yeah.
good and drains you. Let me get out of here.
Yeah.
Is that a good analogy?
Yeah.
Okay, that was an on-the-fly analogy. All right, so hopefully that was simple and it was clear enough. It was quick. Probiotic. All right, let me move this camera back because it's getting in my face. Sorry, I'm back in here.
Okay.
All right. Prebiotics, I kind of mentioned these briefly. Again, it's the food for the gut bacteria and the gut organisms. Fiber. Think of it like the stuff that you can't digest, the little critters are eating. The non-soluble fibers are going in, inulin and cellulose are going in, and these organisms are eating it up. And they love it. And they thrive, and they're multiplying, and they're producing metabolic byproducts. They're producing vitamins. I went over this, peptides, the short-chain fatty acids. Which short-chain fatty acids are we talking about? Hormones, cell signaling, enzymes, and antimicrobial byproducts to keep the bad guys away.
Mm-hmm. You're talking about the pre?
Yeah, the prebiotics.
Yeah, and then you have here.
Well, I was talking about prebiotics. Those are some of the postbiotics from when we're feeding them. Their fiber.
Oh.
Natural sources come from, again, what the chicken is out granging on, like eating the grasses, we call it the shells and the husks, the hard to digest stuff. Of course, chicken digestion is a little different. We did a video a few weeks back about the fun complexity of the chicken digestive tract, how it differs from a human being. Some similarities, but of course, some major differences. It is a chicken. They chew their food up in their crop. Not their crop, in their gizzard. They chew their food up in their gizzard. They start digesting it in their crop. Enzymes are coming in. It's getting fluid. It's turning a little pasty before it goes down there. All right, so prebiotics, food for the probiotics. It's mainly the fibers, but there's a bunch of other stuff. I don't want to get too deep into it because this is leading into the discussion of the chicken feed. And postbiotics, I think we discussed that pretty thoroughly. One other thing, too, is the lactic acid of postbiotics. So the lactobacillus are producing a more acidic environment. They're lowering the pH in the gut, in the chicken gut, and that's actually good. So we have a more acidic environment, which means the bad guy bacteria, they don't like it there. So they're being flushed out or being competed with that acidic environment they do not prefer. All right? Is that good? I think we're good. Okay. Moving on. Is this too boring for you guys? I like this stuff. I don't know. It's really fascinating. Are you okay? All right. Why don't you talk about, because he doesn't talk, and I've been talking too much, about fermenting feed. How do we ferment feed? And why do we ferment feed? And what are the benefits of fermenting feed?
Yeah, concerning feeding
chicken feed, not people
poultry, feed. Yeah, it's different.
But we give it to the ducks and everybody else.
Yeah. You take your feed, and you want to keep in mind if you're starting with a certain amount of dry feed, once you do ferment it, it's going to be pretty much doubled quantity. The amount is going to be doubled because it's going to be absorbing the fluids and expanding the feed itself. So you figure out how much food you want to start with dry. You put it into a container, depending on how much you're using. You can use a small container or a big container. You fill it, or you put water in there. You make sure the water is a couple inches above the grain itself.
Why is this?
Because the grain's going to absorb that water, and then it'll rise as it's getting bigger.
Like those old 1980s sponge credit card things, you get them and you add water to the sponge.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a sponge. The feed will start out tiny, it'll suck the water and become fat.
Yeah.
Please continue.
And it's important that the water is always covering the food because it's kind of creating a seal to make sure.
Oxygen away.
Yeah. And so important.
Nice. Oh, go ahead.
Well, just let me say the basics.
Yeah.
So you have water over the surface of the grain by several inches, and then you stir it up. Now you can use cold water to start, totally fine. You can also use warm water. That'll kind of kickstart it a little faster, the whole process of breaking down the fermentation and the yeastiness. It says not boring one bit, quite interesting. Oh, good.
Can I mention something about the fermenting?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Were you going to mention how the environment becomes acidic?
No.
Okay, well, let me tell them real quick. So all the fermenting, and I'm going to let her continue. I don't mean to interrupt her. But the food is sitting underwater, and you might be thinking intuitively, isn't it going to rot and go bad? If you start fermenting it, and the fermenting, I'll talk about in just a second, it'll smell sour. That's not rotting, it's fermenting. What's the difference? Rotting, bad bacteria are exposed to oxygen, they're coming in and they're decomposing whatever the material is. Fermenting, okay, particularly with this lactobacillus fermentation process, you're underwater, so no air is getting in there. The lactobacillus, you don't add them, they're present, they live everywhere, so they're already on the grain. You stick your grain, they're on the surface, they're just chilling out, being like, man, I'm thirsty. So you stick them down in the bucket and cover them with water, and they're like, hey, yay, we're happy.
Feast.
And they start coming to life and doing what lactobacillus do. They start eating the, what do you call it, the fiber, right? And they're fermenting, and the byproduct they're producing is that gassy smell as well as acid. Not like stick your hand in and pull out some bones acid, but it makes the water, it becomes what's called an acid bath. It becomes an acidic environment which prohibits the growth of bad bacteria. So your fermenting bucket of grain is not going to have bad bacteria in it. Sit there for a long time.
It's not a hospitable environment.
Yeah, it'll get sour and more sour and sour over time, but it's not going to be having those bad bacteria. You could have bad stuff growing on the surface. So you want to watch your surface, but so that's that. It becomes an acidic environment. The probiotics, which are the lactobacillus, the probiotics, are creating an acidic environment through their not rotting fermentation process. Mm-hmm. Continue, ma'am. Sorry for cutting you off.
No, that's fine. So the grain is now submerged in the water, and then to make sure the process is moving forward in the best way possible and evenly, that all the grains are being evenly worked on, you're going to want to mix the grain, and I'd recommend minimum 2 times a day. And that will prevent clumping. It will make sure that the water and the yeasty water is being mixed all the way around everywhere in the grains, and the whole process is working properly. And also, it's very important, you're going to want to cover the bucket or the container, because if it's open air, then the dust and the fungus and the spores and stuff that's in the air naturally will settle on the surface, and
not airtight, not total sealed.
Yes, you don't want it to be totally sealed. Do you want to explain the gases?
Yeah, sure. Like they're producing carbon dioxide. That's one of the byproducts. So bubbles are going to start coming out. So what happens if you put a lid on something and seal it? Pressure. Mm-hmm. You're going to have an exploded little container of smelly fermented chicken food because you didn't have the lid loose. Mm-hmm. You can put a lid on loosely or cheesecloth or something.
I do a good amount at a time, so I actually use like the cat litter boxes. I clean them out nice, and then they have those click-on lids, so that works really well. Do you press the sides to release some of the air bubbles? So while you're mixing the bucket or the contents within the container, the air bubbles are just going to be moving and flowing. It's just part of the process. The gas bubbles, they go up, and you'll see, like, sometimes you'll see, like, bubbles, rising to the top. You don't have to massage it or anything like that. Just the simple stirring, just make sure that will create a balanced mixture. And again, like, no clumping or no, like, dry spots that's stuck to the corners.
Yeah, the thing really shouldn't be sitting there so long to where it's going to create enough gas pressure to pop, because you should be tending to it a couple times during the day.
Yeah, you're going to be opening it. So again, with the possible, like, mold spores and such, that if it's not closed, if the stuff lands on it, an open container, you may end up with, like, mold growing on top. And not all of them are bad, but some of the molds can be bad, harmful.
And you don't want to get into your chickens.
Yeah, so it's important to cover it. Like Christopher said, you can also use cheesecloth, because it's a breathable type thing.
Now, a lot of people are paranoid about the whole fermentation process. Have we ever had mold issues or anything like that?
No.
I've been doing it for years.
And some people are just like, well, how long should I do it? Like, how long does the process take? And if you're starting with a, like, fresh, clean water from scratch, you're starting brand new, usually minimum 3 days. And the reason why I say that, if you're starting with fresh, is because after you ferment, you can reuse the same water. And it's going to be like tan. Right? You should, because there's live, so similar, but not the same as making kraut.
That's correct. Yeah, it's very similar.
You you have that yeasty water, all the good critters are in there already. And if you reuse, you pour that already used water into your next container, your next batch, then it's going to kickstart the whole process, be a lot faster. So I would say it cuts it down by a day. But yeah, so if you're starting from scratch, minimum 3 days. You might be able to get it to 2 days if you're reusing water, and if it's pretty warm temperature outside in the room.
Now, why ferment chicken feed? Are my chickens taking yoga? What's going on here? Why am I fermenting and giving them hippie chicken food? So there's good reasons to ferment.
Yeah, so just like Christopher mentioned in his teaching just a few minutes ago about all the benefits that it has on the body, even if it's for us humans or for the animal, there's all those really good benefits. And for me, the big thing for me is chickens, it's their natural behavior to be pecking the ground, scratching and pecking, even if there's manure all over the ground. I mean, they're in the manure, scratching and pecking. So some people like to rotate animals from fields and stuff, and they'll have cattle move from a field, and then they'll put their chickens in there to scratch away the manure, the cow manure, and spread it around, and that's totally fine. But doing that, just having the natural instinct of pecking and scratching the ground, they're going to be exposed to parasites and different types of critters that may be harmful to them, or like coccidiosis, especially if they're in an area that they're in often, like in a run. If they have a location that's their main area and they return to it, there's a higher chance of them being exposed to some not good stuff. So having fermented feed, like the probiotic feeds, it's going to boost their immune system. It's going to make their whole body look hardier and more, the environment in their gut system is going to be less hospitable to those bad types of bacteria and such. But also because they're, like Christopher said, competing for the resources and such.
And do realize your chickens aren't eating Doritos and cookies and all of the toxic garbage that people eat. So they're pretty robust and healthy as it is. Now, huge benefits of fermented feed. Same as like for a human being, you're introducing a load of probiotics, of all these organisms that were doing the fermenting. And while they were fermenting the food, they've multiplied and become a huge colony. Now, here's the thing they don't tell you in probiotic school. Well, they actually tell you that in school, but not in the advertisings. A lot of them croak out in the stomach because there's a lot of acid in your stomach. So when you're eating this, whatever it is, fermented food, sauerkraut, for example, if you're a human, chicken feed if you're a chicken. If there's any chickens watching. Gets down to the gut. A lot of the bacteria are wiped out by the stomach acid. Okay, some of them do survive, and enough survive to form a colony. I guess it's CFO's colony forming organism, or whatever it is, colony forming number. You have enough down there that'll start to thrive in the gut and get into the digestive tract. But a lot of them are killed, and there's some new research, which I encourage you to look up into yourself, that says that even the dead organisms, the living critters recognize them, and they produce a response to that. On your DNA. Anyway, so the fermented feed, yes, you're introducing probiotics, new organisms, and while the little lactobacillus and the probiotics were fermenting, they created new vitamins. They broke the food down. They broke the starches down. Okay, they made it more digestible and bioavailable for the chicken, which means when chicken eats it, they don't have to do so much work in their gut now. It was basically digested for them partially in a bucket. So they don't have to do all the work to digest it to get the vitamins and minerals and nutrients in that food. And what does that mean? So humans just eat when they're walking around and they're bored. But most animals eat to satiate a nutritive need. It's like a biological mechanism kicks off. They know they got enough fat, they stop eating that. Or you've seen animals eating dirt because they're probably trying to get a mineral. Okay, they have these wonderful biological mechanisms in them that tell them you've gotten enough. So the fermented feed, because it's a little more bioavailable and nutrient dense, right? It cuts down on, I guess, feed waste. The chicken is satiated a little more, a little quicker, and it's volumized with water.
Themselves aren't just going to pass right through them because it's not, maybe if they're eating whole grains, if it's fermented, then it's already getting a little more softer, and their gizzard is going to be able to break it down even more effectively. And like you said, they're going to absorb as much as they possibly can from each ingredient.
Now, I'm not saying you have to feed your chickens fermented food. People don't feed their chickens fermented food. They throw stuff on the ground and they eat it and they're fine. It is beneficial for the chicken to eat fermented food. It is beneficial for their health, for their life. For the quality of their feathering,
they're more vibrant. They feel better. They look better. Their energy level is increased. You might even see production in egg output be affected. But their feathers will look nice.
And again, it's not like a magic pill. I cannot stand. Oh, I just read this really helps me. I'm going to start doing. No. This is a component of their health. It is a component or a contributor to their health. It's not going to be, I do this and now the thing is super. No. This is a benefit, and you can contribute to the benefit, to the betterment of their health through giving them this, with this option, with the fermented feed. It's,
I do want to mention, sometimes, some people may wonder, well, if it's so good for them, then why is it that when they molt, they lose so many feathers and they look horrible? Well, that's just part of the natural cycle of a chicken, most poultry, to flush feathers out and grow new ones. And depending on the bird, depending on the diet, the stress, energy usage, or output, the molt will last longer or be, not as and doesn't take as long. So if they're eating well, then their body is going to be pulling that extra energy from their foods that they're eating to grow those feathers. It takes a lot of energy to do the molt. So yes, chickens will still look really scruffy and maybe dull while they're molting, but eating well and getting what they need will help them push through the molt faster, and just overall they'll feel better while they're molting.
Yeah, so here's something too that we can think about now, because I hate saying this, we're headed towards fall. I like the summer. So in the winter time, chicken behavior is changing, their calorie needs change, their lighting changes, their egg out or their egg production change. Everything's kind of changing because they're in it's winter time.
With the light.
We're not having baby chickens. So we need to chill out process. So their feeding is changing too. You no longer have all of the abundant life you have in the spring and summer. There's no longer the little bugs, the plants, and the things swimming, going everywhere for them to go catch and eat that they were doing in the summer, if they're free ranging. So what does that mean? Oh, well, that means all of a sudden there's going to be a change in their guts. They're going to experience a change. I'm not saying it's detrimental or anything. I mean, the animals are adapted to that. They do adjust to it. But it's just, the same with people. If you change your diet pretty suddenly, you may notice some effects, whatever, lethargy, pains, inflammations can occur. So you may notice that with the chicken. But my whole point of saying that is people who free range, if you're new to chickens, winter comes, you're going to probably need to supplement their food. You're going to give them a commercial feed or mix your own feed for them to make up for what they're losing in the abundance from their free ranging, because they may not have as much available, obviously.
Yeah, and if you already are feeding them, a chicken feed, you're likely going to want to increase the feed, because as the temperature drops, they're going to be cold, and their bodies will use more energy to sustain their body temperature at the proper rate. So then there's going to be a pull from somewhere, so their egg production may drop.
I'm looking forward to the do I need a heat lamp questions everybody always asks in the winter. Before that starts, no, you don't need a heat lamp for your chickens. They'll be okay in the winter time.
Yeah, they're fully equipped to handle the cold.
They got these feathers. Yeah, so I guess that's pretty much what we want to discuss today.
Oh, and with the process of fermenting feed, the last step, which would be good to mention, is you're going to want to drain it because it's in a bucket of water. So you want to drain it.
We have a fermenting video if you guys are interested. It's here in the live videos, I believe. Yes, we did a live instructional on how to ferment. It's probably a few months back. You can check that out. But we did a very thorough discussion on how to ferment. So if you really are interested in fermenting feed, we do a whole walkthrough and put it on 1.5 times speed, and you'll get it done twice as quick. I'll be talking super fast.
Yeah.
Okay, so cool. I think we understand what the gut microbiome. This is like the end of class. I'm going over my objectives. I think we understand what the gut microbiome is to a degree. We can identify probiotics and their benefits. Those are the organisms inside of us. We're differentiating between prebiotics, probiotics, and postbiotics, right? Prebiotics is the food for the little organisms inside of the chicken. The probiotics are the little organisms, bacteria and fungus and all that good stuff. And the postbiotics are the beneficial compounds they produce. Implement fermented feed practices. When did we discuss that? We discussed feeding our fermented feed, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, did you mention if you do switch into fermented feed, give them a little bit at a time. I got to get my kiddos off the bed and curl up myself heading out. Oh, thanks, Kelly. Mm-hmm. Thanks for stopping in. It's okay. We're gonna be splitting soon.
Yeah. If with any feed, you're gonna want to. The best thing to do is to continue feeding your original feed and mix your new feed in, because it'll look different, it'll taste different, it'll smell different. So the first day or so, the chickens or the birds may be like, oh, what's this? But with the fermented feed, to them, like to us, it smells, how would you describe? Soury.
Like you woke up in a bar the next morning where they had a bar fight.
Yeah, but to them, it smells delicious.
Delicious.
Like,
they go
and
crazy,
it tastes. They can taste it too.
It's like watching a little kitty cat run after tuna.
They just love it. It's like they're eating treats, but it's good for them.
Yeah, it's really good for them.
But yeah, also just so you know, you'll notice the scent will change each day as you're fermenting it, and there is a point of going too far, going too many days, and you'll know the scent will change, the color of the water will get even darker. but it'll smell soury, I think, even like more.
Yeah, you're
so.
only fermenting it for a couple days.
Yeah, and
2 or
then
3 days.
The birds, but don't be afraid like of possibly feeding your birds spoiled food because they won't eat it. They'll smell it and be like, that's a little too much for me, and they won't eat it. So that's okay. But yeah, you'll want to, because it's like a wet food, or it'll be like a damp food if you're draining it. Then you're gonna want to kind of eyeball how much to feed them, more of like a serving size for the day, because they'll easily overeat it because it's so good. Like they enjoy it so much. Yeah, he's checking the comment here.
How many times can you reuse the water? That's a really good question.
I've reused it for weeks and weeks. I just pay attention to.
And you add water again.
Yeah, because the grain is absorbing water. So you do have to add more. Now, it just comes down to paying attention to the scent, the consistency of the smell. If suddenly, like, I have 5 buckets at a time. So if one bucket suddenly smells like a little too soury, smells different than the other ones, then I'm like, I'm going to dump that one.
Now remember, too, like that water isn't water. It's an acid. It's an acidic bath now. It's become a preservative for the feed.
Yeah, so if the smell of it changes drastically and you're just like questioning, and it smells different than what it has been, then just restart. But really, you can just keep going and going because you're adding fresh water to it every time as well. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Lastly, these were my points. These are my objectives I want to discuss with you guys. And the last thing was recognize the impact of gut health on overall productivity and health and well-being. Now that, I really, I don't want to go too crazy about that, but I think, so we conceptualize and have a cognizant relationship with things that we experience, but we don't experience this. We don't see it. We don't see it in the animals, but it's a very vibrant and crucial part to our health and well-being. So I highly encourage everyone to investigate, what is this? Is this true? And you're going to find, like I said, it's the science is extremely complex because there's so many organisms, there's so many interactions, right? And interdependencies and things happening that it's very, very hard to grasp everything, but you can get a basic understanding that this environment, which is breaking down everything we're eating and is living inside of us. There's more gut cells, these microorganisms in the microbiome than human cells. You may have heard that, and that's actually true. I think it's like 1.5 to 1. It's not like 10 to 1. But there's more non-human cells than human cells. So they must be there for a reason, and they must be doing a pretty important job, which they are. And a healthy gut will contribute to overall health and well-being, including our mental health and well-being. And the best way, I think the simplest way, and we discussed this before, the simplest way to have good health is to eat real food. Eat real food. Eat unadulterated, unprocessed food.
Yeah.
If it comes in a bag that crinkles, don't eat it,
Or if there's a list of things you can't pronounce on the ingredient list.
Yeah, but a whole food diet is feeding. I'm not going to tell you guys what to eat. Everybody has their own dietary issues. But we all know that McDonald's garbage, Coca-Cola it's causing cancer, it's causing diabetes, it's causing all these inflammatory chronic issues. We know that. We're just addicted to it because it's designed to be addictive. Luckily, chickens, they like eating chicken stuff. So they're pretty healthy and they're living full chicken lives.
I did want to mention, I have had some people ask, well, what do I do with the extra? Like, they're hesitant to ferment because there might be extra food for the day. Well, I refrigerate our food. I mix and prepare food for up to a week. I do serving sizes for the birds because this is the only food I'm feeding them. It's not a supplement, so to a different food. So anyway, I use like a mini fridge and I just store the food in containers. But it's just like any other food, like, food that we eat, I've had.
It
I
can
keep
go
it.
bad.
Yes.
It can go bad now because it's no longer underwater.
Right. So that's my point. Is you can't just leave it in the warm, environment in your kitchen or something. You want to refrigerate it if you have extra, and then it'll last, and you can keep using, keep feeding from it. But put it at that point, you can put it in a sealed container.
Yeah, like Susan, she makes sauerkraut. I make sauerkraut. If you let it sit on the shelf in the room temperature, it gets horrible and real sour. But when you put it in the fridge, stops that fermentation process.
Right. It stops the process.
And it's fine.
Yeah.
It'll last for months.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. I think that's been great, you guys. The reason we do this is because we like everybody to do well.
Yeah.
The homestead mentality is self-sufficiency, well-being, health,
community,
family, good things, and self-starting. So I like to encourage you guys to do, I always say, do something, anything, okay? Because most people plan or they have this idea and then that's that. But the homestead mentality and the homestead people, they do stuff. So always continue to do stuff, always continue to learn. And life becomes a fantastic adventure after you do that. All right.
Yeah.
Julie Rizzi is in the house as we're leaving. All right, well, we're actually ending here. Thank you, much appreciated. Thank you, Susan. Thanks for stopping in. Guys, again, thanks for coming in. If you appreciated, used, or if any of this was useful, click the like, hit sub, or share this out if you want. These are more long form videos. They're live, they're not edited, so, we're going, what do you call it? When you just
off the cuff?
Off the cuff, I guess that's
But
what
not
they
really,
say.
because it's
I'm so unfamiliar
there's
with
structure. We provide structure.
Okay, yeah, but anyway. So it's long format stuff, but I hope you enjoyed that. And if you have any suggestions for the future, let me know. Ooh, omega-3s. Talk about them. Well, I don't want to talk about that. We'll do more bird-related stuff. All right, guys, I'm going to hit the goodbye buttons, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks for watching.